Well, good morning, friends and family. It is solstice eve, and I'm getting ready to head out into the garden. I've got lots of weeding, and I've got some plant dividing, and some repairs to make due to some heavy rains that we've had. I apologize for not getting this out sooner. I initially planned on once a week garden tours, but life gets busy, and I'm a school bus driver, and we've been real busy with the end of school, so hopefully I've got a couple weeks off before I start driving again for summer, and I'm gonna try to get some more content out there. I've got a couple projects I want to work on, and I will bring you with me when I work on those. Anyway, we're gonna start in the kitchen and work our way out the door that leads to the deck and to the backyard today. And I'll take you around the backyard and show you some of the things that have been going on out there. There's a lot of growth and a lot of things that need to be cut back, and so we can get fresh new growth growing out there and get those pollinators busy for the summer. Anyway, here we go. There's not much going out on the deck right now. I've got my topiary, 3-ball topiary that I'm doing with one of the arborvitae, and it looks pretty sad, but we're starting to get some green growth on there. You can see it, it's a little brighter than the rest. By this time next year it'll look great. Need to clean the deck chair. My mint is starting to grow really nicely, and the maple that my son got me for Mother's Day has got a few new leaves and is looking really good. Over on this side, we've got the chives I just cut back and my olive tree, and I need to prune that. I'm not really wild about this arm right here that's sticking out. I'm not sure how I want to prune it, but we'll see. This is one of the projects. This is just a candle holder that I've had in the house forever, and I just don't want to use it in there anymore. So I'm going to kind of bury it and put something growing around it. I might try willow. We'll see. The Weigelia is starting to peter out, but the hummingbirds have just been loving it, and this is the Wine and Roses Weigelia. I love this plant. All right, so the Mexican orange is also done blooming, and unfortunately you can see that there are some bugs that absolutely love to eat this. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's, well, it might be slugs, because here we go, there's a slug and they're chowing away. Anyway, I might have to spray it down with something or put some slug bait around it. This is one of my verbena, lollipop verbena, coming up here. It self-seeded there last year, and I kind of like where it is. There's some more mint. I've got chocolate mint everywhere, and more chocolate mint. The daylilies are looking really gorgeous. I transplanted these last year from 2 plants that were in the front yard, and they just love it back here. They get a little more sun, I think. The other ones that I transplanted from the same 2 plants, remember only 2, are right there, there, all the way around. It's amazing what you can get from just a couple of plants after having them for 5 years. In this bed, the false spirea is pretty much taking up its own zip code. This thing I got from a friend. It was a plant start, and it was probably about a 1-gallon pot size 3 years ago. And look at it now. It is gorgeous. And all of these flower spikes make these white lacy flowers that remind me of something you would see in a bridal wreath. It's just gorgeous. This is my walnut tree. And when I was married to my first husband, we had 2 giant walnut trees, and I absolutely love them. They're a bit messy in the fall, and there are some issues with them I'll talk about in a minute, but they're bar none for creating shade, and they grow pretty quickly. This is his 3rd year and going pretty well. I pruned the heck out of it last year and unfortunately cut the center lead. So now we've got a couple different leads that are competing for number 1. So far that guy's winning. And then this year, this garden last year was all brand new. I moved the forsythia from some potted plants that I had, and everything that you see in this garden came from my own yard. And I've just been transplanting like crazy, dividing, and it's just filling up like crazy. This is my spiderwort. This came from one plant that was back behind that euphorbia. I split it into 3 and I kept the original back there and moved them here. This is my campanula. It is a low-growing, almost ground cover variety. It's a bellflower. I absolutely love this. I keep dividing little bits of it so that I can have some more, because I would really like that to be the prominent ground cover in here. We also have, oh, I can't remember what this is called. I'll have to, it's medicinal. I can't remember what it's called, but I absolutely love it. And it's just shot off a new baby, which I will probably dig up and put in another area. There's some of my phlox. It's done blooming. And one of the things that I struggle with in this yard is buttercup. It's everywhere, and I need to work on getting it out today. So that's on my project list. But this is one of the things that I'm so excited about this year. This is euphorbia, and these are the babies from that plant, and they just kind of jumped over here. Euphorbia is a fairly aggressive self-seeder, and if you don't like them where they go, you can pull them. But I also have some over here. They go pretty far. Some of my hardy geranium, looks like the slugs have kind of gotten to it. And my sad little rose bush that the deer have been munching on. I haven't been able to get ahead of them with the deer spray. With all this rain, it just washes it off. And I think the bunny rabbits have been chewing on this arborvitae. But we'll work on that this summer, see if we can get some new growth. So I was going to talk about the walnut tree. Walnut trees are beautiful, wonderful, great shade. This year, I think I'm actually going to have some nuts on this, but there is a downside to your walnut trees. They put out something into the soil called juglone, and it inhibits the growth of most plants, but there is a long list of plants that you can plant under it, and all these plants right here are on the list and are thriving under it. So you need to do your research, figure out what is on the plant list. You can Google that, and it gives you a very extensive list of plants that you can put in here that will survive and aren't affected by juglone. And it also inhibits seed germination. So I would suggest, even if it's a plant that's on the positive list for things that will grow under it, that you germinate somewhere else, like in a greenhouse or in your house, and then wait until it's a little bit bigger and can fight off whatever that chemical is that it puts into the ground. Over on this side, I cut back my silver fox willow, and it looks a bit sad now, but by the end of summer, that'll be all full and lush again. My Chinese redwoods. These are another favorite in my yard, and these are wonderful because they are deciduous and they turn a beautiful golden red color every fall, and they lose all of these little needles, which aren't really even needles. They're just super soft. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful tree. Unfortunately, I didn't realize when I first planted it that they get super, super tall, and the trunk can be 7 feet around. So I had to move it forward from the neighbor's fence because eventually it would have grown into his fence. So now it should just barely touch the fence at maturity, but I doubt we'll all be around by that time. The rose campion is starting to bloom, and all of these are self-seeded from one plant that I had over here. This is another one of my favorites. If you want to fill your garden up, get some rose campion. It will go crazy after a few years. Back behind it is an echinacea that I was afraid was not going to make it this year, and it's coming back. And here's something I need to replace that didn't quite make it through the winter. It's my Gara. I had two plants, one here and one here, and they just didn't make it through that freeze. So I've got to figure out something else to put there. I might go with something different, or I might get some more Gara. And here we have, oh, sweet box. That's a sweet box, and it grows pretty aggressively. I have to continuously dig up the shoots that come out from the bottom of it. It just shoots out under the ground and roots, but you can start new plants from it. And honestly, if you wanted a really good low-growing hedge plant, I would go with sweet box. It's just beautiful. I like it. This has gotten a little overgrown. I've got to go in here and kind of weed out some of this lamb's ear, but I've got some wild geranium, some more daylilies that are a bit different than those. They're a bit bigger, and a rose bush that somebody gave me. It's one of those miniature ones you get from the grocery store, and I popped it into the ground, and it's actually gotten to a pretty decent size. And there is the spiderwort that I originally divided, and as you can see, the slugs love it too. Slugs are something that we live with here in the Pacific Northwest. They're pretty aggressive. I know they're all over the world, but especially here because we are so wet. The euphorbia is just about spent. You know, as soon as these start looking real brown and icky, I'll just cut them back, and you'll still have this green vegetation left right here that it's all year round. It's an evergreen. The lilac has just gotten huge, but I'm not going to cut it back because I cut it back real severely last year and it didn't bloom real well this year. So I think we'll let it go one more year and then maybe cut it back after it blooms next year. All right, it is so beautiful this morning. What have we got over here? Oh, the beans have decided they want to live and are starting to grow. We'll see if we can actually get some. Those two are probably a lost cause, but these are just your regular pole beans. And the red hot poker lilies are trying to come back to life in that area right there. Like I told you in the last video, it went pretty much filled this whole space, but it just didn't make it through that freeze very well. We got at least half of the plant. My artichoke, I had 3 here. For some reason, the other 2 died. Now we have 1, but that's fine. This lavender, it's getting a little woody. I really cut it back last year, but it seems to be coming back okay. I've got some tomatoes in a pot over here. I just had so many tomato starts, I just needed to get them somewhere. And my comfrey is one of the things that's going to get cut back today and thrown into the comfrey tea. And then by end of summer, it'll be another plant about that size. Have no idea what this is. Accidentally dug it up from the garden. Went, oh gosh, I don't know what that is. Put it in a pot. It's not coming back, so I think it's dead. Got some more tomatoes. And this is exciting. My yuccas. There's 1, 2, 3 are blooming. I love when they bloom. They're actually really pretty. The apple tree is loaded with apples and all the branches are bending. I'm gonna have to go in and thin it out. So usually what I do is every grouping of 3 apples, I take 2 off, and you don't get as much of a yield, but I don't do much with the apples anyway. I don't spray for worms, and they're usually wormy, so I usually make some jams and applesauce out of them. In the back here, we have the raspberries. that my neighbor grew on the other side of his fence, and they came over to my side. So I said, well, thank you so much for the raspberry plants, because we are gonna have raspberries this year. And I just keep an eye on this area, and when I see one shooting up, I cut it back, pull it, keep it clear. Today's to-do list is weeding along the fence line. I keep a pretty good amount of mulch down to inhibit weeds on my side, but unfortunately, you know, they don't respect fence lines, so they come through. I'll be pulling them. Here's one of those raspberries, and all I do is just go in and ow, 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 ow. They do have thorns, and I pop them out of the ground. Here's another one. Just pop them out, throw them down, let them decompose. I'm just really happy with the way this yard has come along. When we moved in here 5 years ago, this was all just completely grass. There was the lilac tree, the dogwood tree, and there was an old maple over in the middle of what is now the Leland cypress hedge. I just gave the hedge a trim weekend before last, so it's looking really good. I've got pansies hanging on the shed, but I think I'm gonna pop them out of there. I don't know, I hate throwing away plants, but they're just about done for the season, and I need to get some petunias in there. These red hot pokers are just about spent, so once they're done, I will cut those back. The peonies, unfortunately, I didn't get out here and get them videotaped, and they're just about done. But they were really beautiful while they were in full bloom, and they just get so heavy with all this rain. It's just kind of sad, and that's kind of my lame excuse of staking them up. I need to get some rings that are made for them. The catnip mint that I moved from over by the greenhouse is looking a little sad. It may not make it, but that's fine. Only the strong survive in my garden. We've got some strawberry plants that are starting to push new growth. I've got my turban pumpkins that I started from seeds. They're doing pretty well. I've got a Dusty Miller that I had absolutely no idea where it came from. I used to have 3 Dusty Millers in here, so probably just self-seeded. The cherry tree that I moved from the front yard is dead, so I'm not sure what we're gonna do with that. The grasses. This is what happens when you get a lot of rain. They just don't. And the lilies are looking really good. So I'm gonna be staking up that grass today. And this is another one that's on my list. This one is a little pincushion daisy, and you can barely see the plant in there anymore. The ajuga and the vinca have just completely swallowed it up. So I'll be taking it out of there and moving it to an area that doesn't have that kind of stuff. The maple also needs to be limbed up a little bit. It's grown a lot this year. I've got the, oh gosh darn it, oh, the tansy. I did a Chelsea chop on the tansy about a month ago and cut it down by quite a bit, and it looks like it's fleshing back. We'll see when it blooms how high the blooms are, but what I'm hoping is that they're only waist high instead of taller than me this year. Pond plants are looking really, really good, and you can tell that I pruned the hedges because I haven't got to picking them all up due to the fact that I filled the recycle bin the first round. The burning bush, I cut those back considerably. They're about half the size that they were, but they'll be fine. And these bachelor buttons are going to get cut back today all the way to the ground so they can flush back. But everything's looking really, really good. It's just that point of the year where things are overgrown that were early bloomers, and we need to make room for the midsummer bloomers. That is one of my salvias, and this one is a white Veronica. I love Veronica. I need to get some more of that. The city of North Bend has a ton of purple Veronica at one of their roundabouts, and it's just stunning. So I think I'm gonna get some more purple. My zebra grass is getting really tall. I'm not sure why, but everything on this side grows a bit better than everything on this side. So, you know, both bush, the burning bush and the zebra grass are smaller on that side versus that side, but it is what it is. The Virginia creeper is creeping its way up there. It's looking really good. I put this silly little dollar store thing up. I don't know why, but I think it's kind of cute. And some more violas or pansies, never sure which. And the pineapple sage is growing really, really well. So don't need to do anything there. That's looking pretty good, but do need to get out here and weed the gravel. We've got lots of stuff growing. All right. Oh, and it looks like we've got ants down here. So while I'm weeding, I need to be real careful because they bite. And some more red hot pokers that are just about done, and my daisies, and a couple more apple trees. I've got lots of fruit on these two. Not as much as the others, but if the deer don't get them, we'll have some apples. Some rose campion, and my pine, and a yew. The blueberries are doing pretty good. I've been spraying them, so the deer are leaving them alone. And everything looks good. A little bit unhappy with how congested this area is. I mean, I eventually want it all pretty full. I don't know. It's just no other area in the garden is quite this full, so I might thin some things out here. But the lollipop verbena, oh my gosh, we are gonna have twice as many as last year. It's just, it's insane. I absolutely love it. And remember, I put that Jupiter's beard in the pot and it was looking really sad. Look at it now. I cut back some of the stuff that was dead, and we're gonna get a bloom. And then this is some of that sweet box. That's one of the ones that I pulled out a couple years ago, and I had it somewhere else and moved it into this pot. It's trucking along. It's not surviving too well, but we'll see. Anyway, just about done with the backyard. There's one more thing over here that I need to move, and that is this little hydrangea that is next to this lollipop verbena. It just has not done well over here. It's been struggling, and as you can see, it's getting eaten by something. So we're gonna move it from this area over somewhere over here. I'm thinking maybe right there in front of the creeping phlox, where it kind of has a little more space and maybe a little less sun, because I think it gets a lot of sun there. But not much is going on in there. We've got strawberries and a few radishes, but it looks a lot better since I pruned everything back. The beans over here are coming up, and this is Morning Glory, and it's finally starting to go. So we shall see. We'll save this tour for another day. Have a great day, guys.